You guys all think you're so much better than me.
Oh, Meg.
Kung Fu Panda 4 is disappointing. Kung Fu Panda is one of those franchises that is a lot better than people give it credit for. On the surface, it's a wacky concept for a wacky little series of kids films, but Kung Fu Panda and its 2 sequels have always been more than that. They told meaningful stories about growth and self-improvement. They had a huge cast of well-written, memorable characters, and they were genuinely funny. But Kung Fu Panda 4 lacks all of that. It feels like a huge step down to what is one of the best trilogies ever made. This movie's story is unoriginal. Po has to find the replacement dragon warrior and become the spiritual leader of the Valley of Peace. But when this evil chameleon lady starts doing bad stuff, he has to team up with this thief named Zhen to stop her. And the movie unfolds in the exact way you would expect it to. Zhen starts off as a bad character, and then in the last leg of the movie turns into a good guy, and surprise, is the new dragon warrior. As if the marketing for the movie didn't already give that away. Gee, I wonder who the new dragon warrior could be. Could it be Po's dad? Or his other dad? Or his old master? Or the villain of the movie? Or these random bunnies? Or this dead guy? I guess it must be this brand new character who's being introduced into the movie where Po has to pick the new dragon warrior, because there's literally no other options. But I have to mention, I don't think there being a new dragon warrior makes sense with the Kung Fu Panda lore. In the first movie, Po was the prophesized dragon warrior. There was even an ancient scroll and everything. So if Po's the chosen one, how can there be another chosen one? I don't know, I'm probably just reading into it too much. Po has the story of learning how change could be good and not this scary thing that he has to run away from. And while I'm totally on board with that idea, it's not executed very well. It's mentioned in the beginning of the movie and then again right before the final battle, but we don't see the development of his arc throughout the movie, and it doesn't feel as ingrained with the actual events of the film like Po's other story arcs in 1, 2, and 3. It seems more like a side story Po has while he's busy trying to stop the chameleon. Speaking of which, the chameleon is by far the weakest villain in the Kung Fu Panda franchise. I think her ability to transform into anyone and to steal people's powers is pretty cool, but outside of wanting to absorb all the Kung Fu masters from the spirit realm and furthering her own empire, she has nothing that makes her interesting. No real characteristics, no interesting motivations, nothing. And it doesn't help that she brings back the other amazing villains from the previous 3 films. She really just doesn't compare to Tai Lung, Lord Shen, or Kai. I will say though, as a fan, it was cool seeing Tai Lung back. Ian McShane is still great as his character. He has some fun action scenes, and he has a surprising yet satisfying conclusion to his character. But this movie also kind of disrespects Lord Shen and Kai. Gary Oldman and J.K. Simmons did not return, so because of that, they're relegated to background characters, which doesn't really make a ton of sense because Lord Shen absolutely hates Po, and he would absolutely be saying some stuff. And I don't even know why Kai is here. He exploded in the spirit realm, so how would he still be in the spirit realm? Wait, where do you go when you die in the spirit realm? It's already the afterlife. Do you go to super afterlife? I have a feeling I wasn't supposed to be asking these kinds of questions. The humor also feels like a big downgrade. Maybe I'm just getting older and I have more fond memories of the previous 3 movies, but I didn't find myself laughing as much. Except for Mr. Ping and Lee, of course. James Hong and Bryan Cranston would never fail to make me giggle. And while this review has been pretty negative so far, I don't think this movie is bad. There's still plenty to enjoy. I think most of the cast does a good job. Jack Black is again really great as Po. He brings so much energy and life to this character. Dustin Hoffman gives another good performance as Shifu. He's not in this movie as much as he was in the previous films, but he's still awesome. Come on. Despite her character not being the best, Viola Davis does a good job as the chameleon, and I really enjoyed Ke Kwan as this ultra-violent pangolin. But there are 2 actors in this movie who are very controversial amongst Kung Fu Panda fans. Awkwafina and Mr. Beast! But seriously, Mr. Beast only has like 1 line in this movie, and it goes by fast. Awkwafina, on the other hand, is all over this movie. She's one of those actors that seems to be very hit or miss. Sometimes she's very enjoyable to watch, like in Crazy Rich Asians or The Farewell. Seriously, if you haven't seen The Farewell, you should. She's actually very, very good in it. But other times, she could be kind of grating, like in Raya the Last Dragon or The Little Mermaid. I still have nightmares about that song from The Little Mermaid.
I was like, whap, chicka, whap, whap, chicka, whap.
On Kung Fu Panda 4, I actually think she fits the character pretty well, and I found her very funny at times. So yeah, Awkwafina is definitely a plus in this movie, but there are a certain 5 cast members missing from this film. 5 characters played by 5 big actors who were in the previous Kung Fu Panda movies. Yeah, where's the Furious 5, man? I know they showed up for the end credits of the movie, but they're more important than cameo scenes. They were mainstay characters in this franchise, and not having them back was super disappointing. However, the action scenes are still a lot of fun. Just like with the first 3 films, Kung Fu Panda 4 has well-framed and well-choreographed fight scenes. And I loved when the film would do something a little unconventional, like changing up the animation style or doing the split screen between Po and Chameleon Po. There is a lot of good in this movie, a lot of passionate craftsmanship up on display, but there's a lot of issues as well. Recently, it seems like a lot of these behind-the-scenes problems have come to light that would seem to explain why this movie turned out the way it did. I'm not sure if these are true or not, but it wouldn't surprise me. And it makes me really sad to see one of my favorite film series have to go through so much trouble. And I just have to hope that in the future, DreamWorks learns from their mistakes and makes more movies like Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and less like Kung Fu Panda 4, or like another movie they recently released. If you enjoyed this review, you should click here and see my review of a much better movie, Godzilla -1 - Color. Or if you want something a little different, click here to watch my video on the almost forgotten Bigfoot movie. Yeah, these are some pretty good videos I made. I mean, look at Godzilla, that just won an Oscar. The Bigfoot movie did not win any Oscars, but it's still a fascinating watch. Yeah, just click one, you'll enjoy it, I promise.